Have you ever thought about how your life seems to ebb and flow like the changing seasons? Just as nature has its seasons, so too does our life. There are times of abundance, akin to the bountiful summer, when everything seems to be flourishing. Yet there are also moments of lack, mirroring the harsh winter, where the struggle to make ends meet feels as relentless as a blizzard. There are periods of isolation, similar to the quiet solitude of autumn, where we find ourselves yearning for companionship. At other times, we might face rough patches in our relationships, much like spring storms, that test the strength of our bonds. Yet, just as winter gives way to spring and spring to summer, so too do these seasons of life shift and change. The struggles of today won't be the struggles of tomorrow. The hardships of this season won't last forever. But did you know the Bible tells us there is a season for everything? Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 is a profound passage that speaks about the rhythm of life. It begins with, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven." This verse reminds us that every event, every emotion, every situation we go through is not random. It has a purpose and a time of its own. Moving on to the second verse, "A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted." This verse speaks about the cycle of life and death, of beginnings and endings, of planting seeds for the future and reaping what we've sown. The third verse, "A time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up." This verse acknowledges the harsh realities of life. There are times when things must be broken down, times when healing is necessary, and times when we must build anew. The fourth and fifth verses, "A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together." These verses express the balance between sorrow and joy, loss and celebration, letting go and gathering together. The sixth verse, "A time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away." This verse teaches us about the ebb and flow of possessions, relationships, and experiences in our lives. The seventh verse, "A time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak." This verse emphasizes the importance of discernment, knowing when to mend relationships or let them go, when to speak up or remain silent. Finally, the eighth verse, "A time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." This verse encapsulates the most profound human emotions and the state of the world at large. As we see, these verses remind us that all aspects of life, both joyful and challenging, have their season. So, what can we learn from these verses? Well, Ecclesiastes 3 verses 1-8 beautifully encapsulate the concept of time and seasons in our lives. It tells us that there is a time for everything, a season for every activity under the heavens. There are times to plant and times to uproot, moments to mourn and instances to dance. It's a gentle reminder that life is not a monotonous journey, but a vibrant symphony of varied experiences and emotions. These verses encourage us to acknowledge and embrace the different seasons of our lives. They teach us that it's okay to feel joy, sorrow, love, loss, and everything in between. They remind us that our struggles are not permanent, but are merely seasons that will pass. These verses can offer comfort and guidance during difficult times. They remind us that just as winter turns to spring, our periods of hardship will give way to times of joy. As we navigate our life seasons, these verses can serve as a powerful reminder that everything has its time. Regardless of the season you're in, remember that it won't last forever. Just as nature cycles through summer, fall, winter, and spring, so too does our life journey. It's a kaleidoscope of moments, some filled with sunshine and others with stormy weather. But even in the midst of the storm, take heart. You're not alone. The wisdom of Ecclesiastes 3:1-8 reminds us that there is a time for everything, a time for joy, a time for sorrow, a time for planting, and a time for harvesting. Each season, whether it's one of lack, isolation, or struggle, serves a purpose. It's an opportunity for growth, for resilience, and for deepening our faith. Remember, God has promised never to leave nor forsake you. Even when it feels like you're navigating through an endless winter, hold on to that promise. Spring is just around the corner. Stay blessed, and remember to subscribe for more encouraging, transformative words.